Good morning. The top story today, needless to say, is that both China and India have agreed to withdraw their troops to about 1.8 kilometers behind where they are right now. This follows a 2-hour conversation on the phone between NSA Ajit Doval and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Fortunately, with a lot better satellite imagery available today, it is going to be possible for India to actually verify whether the Chinese are keeping to their promise. This includes not just their troops, but their structures and their equipment and things like that. There is as yet no sign of withdrawal in the Pangong Tso area, where the Chinese are reportedly in by about 8 kilometers this side of the LAC. But let's see where those talks go. Most people felt that the Uday scheme of the NDA government hadn't really delivered, and this is based on the ATC loss reduction targets of 15% that Uday had put down, and we had looked at these ATC loss targets versus actually what had been achieved. So when you looked at that, or when you looked at the inability of the state electricity boards to pay their bills, it was quite obvious that Uday hadn't done as well as had been expected, but most people believed that there was some level of progress which had been achieved. But the extent of the problem has only now come out after the Power Finance Corporation did its audit of the state electricity board. So till now, most of us believe that the FY17 losses, which were about 38,500 crores, had actually come down to about 15,000 crores in FY18, and though they had gone up to about 28,000 crores in FY19, this was still better than what it used to be in the past. Now what it appears after the PFC audit is that the FY18 and FY19 numbers that we were looking at were a big underestimate. Basically, they were an underestimate by 50%. So the actual losses in these years were double what the Power Ministry kept telling us. As a result of this, the SEB losses today are back to where they were in the pre-Uday times, and as we've seen, the SEBs are not in a position to pay their bills yet. So now that the government is giving a 90,000 crore loan package to these SEBs, we have to hope that this time around there will be serious reforms, because we've seen in the past, about every decade, you used to have a power sector bailout or some kind of lifeline given to the SEBs. In the case of the NDA government, the Uday scheme actually began 5 years ago. So this time around, the bailout package has come in 5 years instead of 10, and that is to be understood given the fact that there's a lot more electricity units being sold, and if the subsidy per unit doesn't go down, then obviously the bailouts required to be done much faster. While there was a big bounce back immediately after the series of lockdowns that India had, after the lockdowns were lifted and Unlock 1 and Unlock 2 begun, but we need to see whether this is really sustainable. So one way of looking at it is the Google and the Apple mobility indices here. So what Nomura has done is that Nomura has looked at what these indices are telling us about the increase in mobility, and actually those the mobility levels are growing, but they are flattening out. And sure enough, this is why Nomura's business resumption index has actually fallen this month. So it tells you that reviving consumption, reviving the economy is going to take a much longer time than most of us had believed. The value of stalled property we have in our anchor story today could hit 5 lakh crores. So the problem is that even if developers today are willing to slash prices, and they're not, but even if developers are willing to slash prices, there are no buyers. And it's been like this for quite a few years. The property market has been on a down cycle for about 7 to 8 straight years now. In fact, according to Liazes for Us, which is a real estate research company, only half of all existing residential projects today are safe from both the execution risk and the risk of severe price correction. So there's a lot of trouble ahead for the Indian banks which have lent to the real estate sector. It has been obvious to most of us that the sharp jump in India's ease of doing business ranking which is done by the World Bank from 133 in 2009 to 63 in 2019 didn't really change much on the ground there. I mean, as far as the hurdles and the red tape on the ground is concerned, it was more or less the same. In fact, much of the increase, it was pretty clear, was really due to the fact that the index could be gamed. So the fact that it was possible to get online connection of electricity in both Delhi and Mumbai, which is really where the index is measured, the fact that it was possible to get an electricity connection much faster in these two cities is a big reason for the for the jump in the ranks. In fact, just a few days ago, we reported that India's largest temping agency, TeamLease, had put out numbers of just how much red tape there was in the country. So, for example, in the case of labor laws, the TeamLease study had said that the companies needed to comply with 463 acts, and they required to make 32,542 compliances, for which they had to make 3,048 filings every year. So this is what our top editorial is also about. It basically says that if India is going to be able to, needs to be able to compete with, if India is going to be able to compete with China, it cannot do it with an economy that is 1/5 its size, and the economy cannot grow until doing business is a lot easier than what it is today. And a lot of people still felt that, okay, it is true that there are all these laws and there are these regulations and there is this bureaucratic red tape, but for all practical purposes, with some bribe money, people have found their way around it. So it's a little bit of an extra cost, but that's all it is. Now, actually, what we find is that that's not strictly true. In fact, we have a story on our front page on labor-intensive exports. So this is an area where India is supposed to have a big advantage, but our labor-intensive exports, the growth rate of that is much slower than that of other exports, as a result of which, in just the last 3 years, the share of labor-intensive exports to the total pie has gone down from 44% to 37%. So in fact, in terms of absolute value also, if you look at textiles or agricultural produce, the value of the exports is going down in absolute values, in nominal values. It's no surprise then that the amount of jobs being generated in India are far less than they need to be. And our last story of the day, as Elon Musk celebrates his victory over short sellers, and you can see on your screen how his stock has soared over the last 1 month. He is now the most valuable company, automobile company in the world. So Elon Musk celebrates his victory against the short sellers in a unique sort of way, in a way that is so typically Elon Musk. Thank you. Have a great day.